Have you ever wondered why some men can say almost nothing, yet women feel naturally drawn to them, while others talk endlessly and still feel invisible? A frustrating experience. You try to be interesting, you try to say the right things, you try to show confidence, intelligence, humor, yet somehow the connection never truly forms, the conversation feels flat, the energy fades, and you are left wondering what you did wrong. But here is the truth most people never tell you. Attraction rarely begins with what you say. It begins with how someone feels when they're around you. Human psychology works in a simple but powerful way. Emotions move first, logic follows later. Before a woman analyzes your words, her mind is already deciding something deeper. Does this interaction feel good? Does this person make me feel comfortable? Do I feel understood here? These silent questions shape the entire experience of attraction. Most men believe attraction is created by impressing a woman. They try to demonstrate success. They highlight achievements. They search for clever lines or witty comments. They try to stand out by saying something remarkable. But the harder you try to impress, the more pressure enters the conversation. And pressure quietly kills attraction, because attraction grows where comfort exists. It grows where emotional space exists. It grows where someone feels free to relax instead of feeling evaluated. Think about the last time you met someone who truly listened to you, not someone who waited for their turn to speak, not someone who tried to correct you or prove something, but someone who genuinely paid attention, someone who understood what you meant beyond the surface of your words. That experience feels powerful, almost surprising, because in a world full of noise, being understood is rare. Psychologists have studied this deeply. When someone feels emotionally understood, the brain releases chemicals associated with trust and bonding. Oxytocin begins to flow. The nervous system relaxes. Walls begin to lower. This is the foundation of real connection. And connection is the doorway to attraction. The problem is that most conversations never reach this level. People rush through interactions trying to prove their value. They talk more. They try harder. They push energy into the room instead of creating space within it. But attraction does not respond to pressure. It responds to emotional awareness. When a woman feels that you truly see her, something subtle begins to change. Her attention becomes more focused. Her curiosity grows. Her guard softens. The interaction begins to feel natural instead of forced. And the most surprising part is how simple this shift can be. It does not require complicated techniques. It does not require memorized lines. It does not require pretending to be someone you're not. Sometimes the strongest emotional impact comes from the simplest signals. A small moment of recognition. A quiet expression of understanding. 2 words that tell someone they are not just being heard, but truly felt. Those words have the power to transform an ordinary conversation into a meaningful connection. Because deep down, every person carries the same hidden desire to feel seen, to feel understood, to feel like their thoughts and emotions matter. When you learn how to communicate that feeling naturally, something powerful begins to happen. Conversations flow differently. People open up faster. And attraction starts growing in places where effort once failed. And once you understand why these 2 words work so deeply on the human mind, you will never look at communication the same way again. And the truth behind this shift is surprisingly simple. 2 words can change the emotional direction of an entire interaction. 2 words that most people overlook because they appear too ordinary to carry power. Those words are, I understand. Simple, quiet, direct, yet psychologically profound. When you say these words with genuine presence, something powerful happens in the human mind. You immediately remove tension from the conversation. You remove the invisible pressure that many people feel when they talk about their thoughts, feelings, or experiences. Most conversations fail because people respond too quickly. Someone shares an opinion, and the other person jumps in with advice. Someone expresses frustration, and the response becomes a lecture about solutions. Someone opens up emotionally, and the reaction becomes analysis or correction. But emotional communication does not work that way. Human beings rarely want solutions first. They want understanding first. This is one of the deepest psychological needs we carry. They need to feel emotionally recognized. When someone feels that their inner world has been acknowledged, their brain begins to relax. The defenses lower. The nervous system settles. The conversation becomes warmer and more open. The words I understand communicate something extremely powerful. They say that you are not here to challenge her perspective. You are not here to compete with her thoughts. You are not here to prove that you know better. You are simply present enough to recognize her experience. Presence is rare in modern conversation. Most people listen just long enough to respond. Their attention is divided. Their mind is already preparing the next sentence. before the other person has even finished speaking. But when someone pauses, absorbs the message, and responds with genuine understanding, the emotional impact becomes unforgettable, because suddenly the conversation feels different. It feels calm instead of rushed. It feels respectful instead of competitive. It feels safe instead of uncertain. Safety is a powerful emotional trigger. When the mind senses emotional safety, curiosity begins to appear. Curiosity leads to deeper engagement. Engagement slowly transforms into connection. And connection is the soil where attraction begins to grow. Many men believe attraction requires impressive words. They search for clever lines or dramatic statements, but the truth is that attraction often grows from the opposite energy. It grows from simplicity. It grows from emotional intelligence. It grows from the quiet confidence of someone who understands before reacting. When you say, "I understand," you demonstrate emotional awareness. You show that you are capable of seeing beyond your own perspective. You show patience. You show maturity. And these qualities signal something very attractive on a psychological level. They signal stability. Stability is deeply appealing because it suggests emotional strength. It suggests that you are not easily shaken by opinions or feelings. You are calm enough to hold space for another person, experience without feeling threatened by it. This calm presence makes people feel comfortable sharing more of themselves. And when someone shares more of themselves with you, the emotional bridge between you naturally grows stronger. The conversation deepens, the connection strengthens, and the interaction begins to feel meaningful rather than casual. That is the hidden power behind those two simple words. They are not about agreeing with everything someone says. They are about acknowledging that their feelings and experiences exist, and that you respect them enough to listen. Respect creates emotional warmth. Warmth builds trust. Trust opens the door to genuine attraction. And once someone begins to associate you with the feeling of being understood, your presence starts to carry a unique emotional weight. You are no longer just another voice in the crowd. You become someone whose attention feels valuable, someone whose understanding feels rare, someone whose presence quietly stands out without needing to fight for attention. And when your presence begins to feel rare, something deeper starts happening beneath the surface of the conversation. Her mind begins to relax in a way it normally does during everyday interactions. The subtle tension most people carry in social situations begins to dissolve. The constant need to filter thoughts, to get emotions, to measure every word slowly fades away. This is where the real psychology of attraction begins to unfold. Attraction is not simply about excitement. Many people believe attraction must feel intense, dramatic, or overwhelming. But the truth is that the strongest form of attraction often grows from emotional safety. Excitement may catch attention, but safety builds attachment. The human brain is constantly scanning for emotional threats, judgment, criticism, rejection. These signals activate defense mechanisms immediately. People become guarded. Their responses become cautious. Their personality becomes smaller because their mind is protecting itself. This happens in conversations more often than most people realize. Even in casual interactions, the brain is quietly asking one important question: is it safe to be myself here? When the answer is uncertain, people stay on the surface. They share safe opinions. They hide deeper thoughts. They keep emotional distance. The conversation remains polite but forgettable. But when someone senses emotional safety, everything begins to change. The mind relaxes. The body language softens. The tone of voice becomes warmer. And personality begins to expand naturally. This shift is incredibly powerful because attraction grows strongest when someone feels free to be themselves, not when they feel pressure to perform. Not when they feel analyzed or evaluated, but when they feel accepted in the moment exactly as they are. Those two simple words, "I understand," send a powerful signal to the brain. They quietly say that this conversation is not a battlefield of opinions. It is not a test of intelligence. It is not a competition for attention. It is a space where thoughts, emotions can exist without resistance. And that feeling is rare. In a world where people constantly interrupt, debate, correct, and compete for dominance in conversations, genuine understanding stands out like calm water in the middle of a storm. Calm energy has a magnetic effect on people. It draws them closer because it feels peaceful. It feels stable. It feels emotionally safe. And stability is one of the most attractive qualities a person can project. Not loud confidence, not aggressive charm, but quiet emotional strength. Emotional strength means you are comfortable enough within yourself to listen without needing to dominate the conversation. You do not rush to prove your worth. You do not feel threatened by someone else's feelings or opinions. You allow space for the other person to exist fully in the moment. That level of emotional control signals maturity on a deep psychological level. It tells the other person that you are grounded, you are secure, You are not driven by ego or the need to constantly impress. This kind of presence is rare, and rarity naturally increases attraction. Most men try to capture attention by speaking more, by pushing energy outward, by trying to be the most interesting voice in the room. But the men who quietly stand out often do the opposite. They understand more than they speak. They observe carefully. They listen deeply. And when they respond, their words carry weight because they come from genuine awareness. Understanding is not passive. It is one of the strongest signals of emotional intelligence a person can demonstrate. And emotional intelligence is one of the most powerful attraction triggers in human relationships. Because when someone feels emotionally safe around you, their mind begins to associate your presence with comfort, trust, and calm. Over time, those feelings grow stronger, turning simple conversations into meaningful connections that naturally pull two people closer together. And when comfort, trust, and calm begin to form around your presence, the entire dynamic of the interaction changes. The conversation stops feeling like something that must be managed carefully, it begins to flow naturally. Words come easier. Silence no longer feels awkward. The pressure disappears. This is the moment where understanding begins to transform into attraction. But there is something deeper happening beneath the surface that most people never notice. When someone feels genuinely understood, their brain registers that moment as emotional validation. Emotional validation is one of the most powerful psychological rewards a human being can experience. It tells the mind that its thoughts and feelings are accepted rather than dismissed. And when the mind receives that signal, it begins to attach positive meaning to the person who created that feeling. That attachment is subtle at first. It appears as curiosity, a slight increase in attention, a quiet desire to keep the conversation going a little longer. Curiosity is one of the earliest signals of attraction, because curiosity means the mind has begun to invest emotional energy in the interaction. It wants to know more. It wants to understand the person who created that sense of emotional comfort. And this is where most people miss the opportunity. Instead of continuing to create space for connection, they suddenly shift into performance mode. They start trying to impress. They start trying to entertain. They start pushing harder, believing that excitement will strengthen the interaction. But forcing excitement often breaks the emotional flow that was just beginning to form. Attraction rarely grows from pressure. It grows from emotional rhythm. When someone feels safe enough to open up, the most powerful thing you can do is stay present in that rhythm. Continue listening. Continue understanding. Continue showing that you value the experience she's sharing. Listening deeply is one of the rarest forms of respect, and respect is profoundly attractive. Everyone wants to feel respected in conversation, not just tolerated, not just heard halfway, but genuinely valued. When someone senses that their words matter to you, their emotional guard lowers even further, their personality expands, their laughter becomes more natural, their energy becomes more relaxed, and this emotional openness creates a powerful connection between two people. Because attraction grows strongest when someone feels free to be themselves without fear of judgment. The mind begins associating your presence with relief, with calm, with emotional clarity. Think about how rare that experience truly is. Most conversations in the world are rushed, distracted, filled with interruptions or half-listened responses. People are often physically present but mentally somewhere else. But when someone encounters a person who listens with genuine awareness, the difference feels almost shocking. It feels refreshing. It feels grounding. It feels real. And authenticity has a magnetic effect on the human mind. People are drawn to authenticity because it signals honesty and emotional stability. Stability is deeply comforting in a world full of noise and uncertainty. That is why the simplest expressions of understanding often create the strongest emotional reactions, not because they are impressive, but because they are rare. They show patience. They show emotional intelligence. They show that you are fully present in the moment rather than trying to control it, and presence is powerful. Because the person who makes others feel understood becomes memorable, not for flashy words, not for dramatic gestures, but for something far more meaningful. The quiet feeling that in their presence you are finally able to relax, to speak freely, and to feel genuinely seen. And when someone feels genuinely seen, something powerful awakens inside them. A sense of emotional relief begins to settle in. The constant effort of protecting their thoughts and filtering their feelings slowly disappears. What replaces it is openness. The openness is where the deepest human connections begin to grow. This is not accidental. The human mind is wired to respond strongly to moments of recognition. Every person carries an internal desire that is rarely spoken out loud. The desire to be understood beyond the surface. Not just noticed for appearance or achievements, but recognized for who they truly are. Most people walk through life feeling partially invisible. They show a version of themselves that the world expects to see. They smile when they are tired, agree when they feel unsure. They hold back opinions because they are not sure how others will react. This emotional filtering becomes exhausting over time, so when someone finally encounters a person who listens with real awareness, something shifts inside their mind. It feels refreshing. It feels safe. It feels rare. And rarity always increases emotional value. This is why understanding is far more powerful than trying to impress. Impressing someone may capture attention for a moment, but understanding someone creates a deeper emotional imprint. It tells their mind that they are not just another voice in the noise of everyday life. When you say, "I understand," with genuine sincerity, you are sending a message that goes far beyond the words themselves. You are telling her that her experiences matter, her feelings are valid, her perspective is respected. That validation creates emotional resonance. Emotional resonance is what happens when two people feel mentally aligned during a conversation. Their thoughts feel acknowledged, their emotions feel accepted, the interaction begins to feel smooth and natural, almost effortless. And when conversations begin to feel effortless, attraction quietly grows beneath the surface. This is because the brain begins to associate the other person with emotional comfort. The presence of that person becomes linked to feelings of calm and understanding. Over time, the mind begins to seek out that feeling again. It wants more of the same emotional experience. That is how curiosity begins to transform into attraction, not through dramatic moments or loud displays of confidence, but through consistent emotional recognition. Each moment of understanding strengthens the invisible connection forming between two people. Think about the type of individuals who leave the strongest impression in your life. They are rarely the ones who talk the most or try the hardest to stand out. They are often the ones who made you feel heard during a moment when it truly mattered. That memory stays with you because it touches something deeper than surface-level conversation. It touches identity. When someone feels their identity has been respected, they begin to trust the person who created that experience. Trust opens emotional doors that normally remain closed in casual interactions, and behind those doors lies authentic personality. When a woman feels safe enough to reveal her authentic personality, the interaction becomes more vibrant, her energy becomes more expressive, her words become more genuine, her laughter becomes more natural. This emotional expansion creates the environment where real attraction thrives. Not attraction built on temporary excitement, but attraction rooted in emotional compatibility. Compatibility grows when two people feel comfortable existing as themselves without fear of rejection. Understanding creates that environment. Understanding tells someone they are allowed to be human in your presence, allowed to express thoughts without being corrected, allowed to share emotions without being judged. And when someone experiences that kind of emotional freedom around you, your presence becomes something rare and deeply valuable in their mind. And when your presence begins to feel valuable in someone else's mind, something subtle but powerful takes place. Emotional weight of your words increases. The space you hold in the conversation begins to matter more. Even small moments of attention start carrying meaning. This is where most people misunderstand attraction. They believe attraction is created through effort, through constantly doing more, saying more, proving more. But true attraction often grows from the opposite direction. It grows from emotional depth, not from constant performance. When someone feels understood by you, they begin to relax into the interaction. And when relaxation enters a conversation, authenticity follows closely behind it. The walls that normally protect a person as inner world begin to soften. That softening creates a powerful shift. Instead of interacting with a social mask, you begin to interact with the real person behind it. And real personalities are far more engaging than the controlled versions people show the world. But for that transformation to happen, one thing must remain consistent: your sincerity. The words "I understand" only carry power when they come from genuine attention. If they are used mechanically without real listening, the mind senses the disconnect instantly. Humans are remarkably sensitive to authenticity. We notice when someone is truly present, and we also notice when someone is simply pretending to listen. Real understanding requires patience. It requires slowing down your reactions. It requires allowing the other person, as words, to fully land before responding. Instead of preparing the next clever sentence, you focus entirely on absorbing the meaning behind what is being said. This level of listening does something extraordinary. It communicates respect without needing to say the word. It tells the other person that their voice is not competing for attention. It has already been given space. Respect builds emotional trust, and trust is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. When trust begins forming, conversations start to gain emotional depth. Instead of surface-level exchanges, thoughts begin to carry more meaning. Opinions feel safer to express. Feelings feel less risky to share. This is where emotional connection becomes visible. Not through dramatic moments, but through small signs of openness. The conversation lasts longer than expected. Eye contact becomes more natural. Laughter flows more easily. The interaction begins to feel comfortable instead of cautious. Comfort might sound simple, but psychologically it is incredibly powerful. The human mind is drawn toward environments where it feels emotionally at ease. Over time, it starts associating that comfort with the person who created it. This association strengthens every time the interaction repeats. Each moment of understanding reinforces the feeling that your presence is different from the usual noise people experience in everyday conversations. You become someone whose attention feels grounding. Grounding is attractive because it signals emotional stability. Stability tells the mind that you are not reacting impulsively. You are not chasing approval. You are comfortable within yourself. That quiet confidence becomes visible without needing to be announced. And confidence expressed through calm presence carries far more weight than confidence expressed through loud words. Because calm confidence feels real. It does not force attention. It naturally attracts it. When a woman senses that she can speak freely around you without being interrupted, corrected, or judged, she begins to value the interaction more deeply. The conversation becomes something she remembers because it offered something rare. A moment where she did not feel pressured to perform. A moment where she did not feel analyzed. A moment where she simply felt understood. And when someone begins to associate you with that feeling repeatedly, attraction stops being something you chase. It becomes something that naturally grows in the emotional space your presence creates. And when attraction begins to grow in that emotional space, something even more important starts to happen within you. Your mindset shifts. The focus moves away from trying to win approval and toward creating meaningful connection. That shift alone changes the entire energy you bring into every interaction. Most people approach conversations with a hidden fear. The fear of not being interesting enough. The fear of saying the wrong thing. The fear of rejection quietly sits in the background, influencing every word they choose and every reaction they show. That fear creates tension, and tension is something people can feel even when it is not spoken. But when your goal becomes understanding instead of impressing, that fear begins to lose its power. You stop trying to control how you are perceived. Instead, you focus on truly engaging with the person in front of you. That mental freedom creates a calmer, more grounded presence. Your words become simpler. Your reactions become more genuine. The interaction begins to feel natural rather than forced. And people are drawn to what feels natural. The mind is constantly searching for authenticity. In a world where so many interactions feel rehearsed or artificial, genuine communication stands out immediately. It feels refreshing because it carries no hidden agenda. When you listen with the intention to understand, your attention becomes your strongest quality. Attention is one of the most valuable gifts you can give another person. It shows that you are not distracted. You are not rushing the moment. You are fully there. That level of presence sends a powerful signal. It says that the person speaking is worth your time and focus. Few things are more flattering than that kind of respect. Respect feeds emotional connection. Emotional connection feeds attraction. And this process works because it aligns with a basic psychological truth. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel good about themselves. Not through empty compliments, but through genuine recognition of their thoughts and feelings. When someone feels good about who they are in your presence, they begin to associate you with that positive emotional state. Over time, your presence becomes linked with comfort, appreciation, and emotional clarity. This association is powerful because it operates beneath conscious awareness. The mind does not analyze it logically. It simply remembers the feeling of being heard, the feeling of being valued, the feeling of being understood, and feelings shape attraction far more than clever words ever could. That is why the simplest interactions often leave the deepest impressions. When someone senses that you are not trying to compete for attention or prove your worth, they relax around you. That relaxation allows their true personality to appear. And genuine personality creates the most engaging conversations. You begin to notice a difference in how people respond to you. They maintain eye contact longer. They share thoughts more openly. They laugh more freely. The conversation carries warmth instead of hesitation. This is not the result of a technique. It is the result of emotional awareness. Emotional awareness means understanding that connection is built through empathy, patience, and presence. It means recognizing that attraction grows strongest when someone feels emotionally safe enough to be themselves without resistance. When you create that environment consistently, your presence begins to carry a quiet influence. You are no longer just another person speaking in the noise of everyday conversation. You become someone who listens differently, someone who understands, someone whose words feel calm, steady, and real. And in a world where so many voices are competing to be heard, the person who truly understands becomes unforgettable. And when someone becomes unforgettable in the mind of another person, the connection begins to move beyond ordinary interaction. What once felt like a simple conversation starts carrying emotional meaning. Your presence begins to represent something deeper than words alone. This is the quiet power of emotional influence. Influence is not about control. It is not about manipulation. Real influence grows when someone feels better in your presence than they do in most other conversations. When your attention creates clarity instead of confusion. When your understanding creates calm instead of pressure. The human mind remembers those moments. Think about how rare it is to meet someone who truly slows down enough to listen. Most people rush through conversations, eager to speak, eager to prove something, eager to shift the focus back to themselves. The result is a constant battle for attention when nobody truly feels heard. But when you break that pattern, you stand out immediately. Your patience becomes visible. Your calmness becomes noticeable. Your ability to understand becomes something people appreciate deeply. And appreciation is one of the first emotional steps toward attraction. When someone appreciates how they feel around you, they begin to seek more of that feeling. They want more conversations, more moments where they can relax into the interaction without needing to guard their thoughts or protect their emotions. This is how emotional bonds begin to form. Not through dramatic gestures, but through consistent emotional experiences. Each time someone feels understood, a small layer of trust is added to the connection. Over time, those layers build something powerful. Familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort strengthens attraction because the mind naturally moves toward what feels emotionally safe. Safety does not mean boredom. It means stability. It means knowing that the interaction will not turn into judgment, criticism, or emotional conflict. Stability is attractive because it signals emotional strength. When you remain calm, attentive, and understanding, you demonstrate that strength without needing to say a word about it. Your behavior communicates confidence more effectively than any self-praise ever could. Confidence rooted in emotional control carries a quiet authority. It shows that you are not desperate for approval. You are not chasing validation. You are comfortable allowing the interaction to unfold naturally. That calm patience makes your presence feel grounded. Grounded people create grounded conversations. And grounded conversations allow real personalities to appear. When personalities appear, attraction becomes authentic rather than superficial. Instead of responding to a carefully presented image, someone begins responding to the real version of you. That authenticity deepens emotional investment because it feels genuine. Genuine connections are rare, and rarity always increases value. The more someone experiences that sense of understanding around you, the more your presence becomes associated with emotional ease. They begin to notice how different the interaction feels compared to many other conversations in their life. Less pressure, less performance, more clarity, more comfort. Those feelings begin to shape how they see you. Not just as someone they talk to, but as someone whose attention feels meaningful, someone whose presence creates a sense of calm rather than stress. And when that association forms, attraction begins to grow quietly but powerfully beneath the surface. Because deep down, every person is searching for someone who makes life feel a little lighter, a little clearer, and a little more understood. When you become that person, you do not need complicated strategies to create connection. Your presence alone begins to carry the message that so many people are silently hoping to hear. You are seen, you are heard, and you are understood. And when someone truly feels seen, heard, and understood, something powerful happens not only in their mind, but in yours as well. Your entire approach to connection transforms. You stop chasing attraction, and you start creating an environment where attraction can naturally exist. This is the final shift that separates ordinary interactions from deeply memorable ones.